So after nearly 3 million signatures, the government has responded to the petition asking for a general election in the UK. Yes, I know, slightly off from my usual subject matter, but I thought this was interesting. Now, I myself actually signed this merely as a point of principle. Now, the idea that they would give a general election after they've just had it is absurd. They're not going to do that. That's not the purpose, generally speaking, of this petition. The purpose of the petition is to articulate and display to the UK government, that the Labour government, that what they're doing currently is rejected by a lot of people. It's to show them that there is a large contingency of individuals that is very unhappy and displeased with what they're doing. It also allows other people to have a voice, because of course there's a lot of individuals that stay out of these kind of discussions but through fear that they may be the minority. So the purpose of the petition, and why I signed it anyway, is merely pressure. That's all it was. However, their response is funny, it's steeped in psychological manipulation, and also just general drivel that you would come to expect from the government. So I thought we'd take a look at their response to the petition calling for a general election. Anyway, if you enjoy frank conversations about various bits and pieces of news and things like that, hit subscribe. And if you're a returning viewer, hit subscribe if you are not already. So like I said, this petition got nearly 3 million responses. There was some sort of level of people trying to say, basically it got lambasted in the media to be like, no, a lot of these people are from Russia. They bring up this Russia nonsense in everything these days. It's absolutely absurd. I mean, it's the new boogeyman. You know, you might as well paint Putin green and be like, yeah, you're the boogeyman. It's just nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. But yeah, nearly 3 million people signed it. And the petition was basically call a general election. I would like there to be another general election. I believe the current Labour government have gone back on the promises they laid out in the lead up to the last election. They did. They have done. That's not a stretch. And it's really important to note is that the Labour government didn't really... They won by a majority. But their majority and their mandate is weak in comparison to the registered voter base of the UK. The amount, the percentage of people that voted them in is less than the people that voted in the previous general election, where Boris Johnson won with a big majority, and then Jeremy Corbyn lost. So the amount of people that voted for Jeremy Corbyn in that election is more than the people that voted for Labour in this election, and Labour won. Which just goes to show the amount of voter apathy that has now steeped into the general sort of the UK population, basically. And that comes from many, many reasons. It essentially comes from the UK populace being well aware that the voting system in the UK is rigged against them to retain power in two key parties. We have something called first past the post, not proportional representation. So it is very, very, very difficult for new parties to come up through the ranks. And when you have two parties that are nearly identical in terms of their ideological sort of policies that they have in place, one just wants to do them quicker than the other, for instance. Labour wants the speed run to oblivion, whereas Conservatives were not conserving shit. They just wanted to slowly move their way to the same ideological end as Labour. The voter apathy steeps in and people go, well, what's the point? There is no democracy now. And that's what happened, basically. So now, obviously, the shit's hit the fan with Labour through many, many things going on in the world at the moment. And it's pretty apparent that, yes, they have gone back on what they said in terms of, their sort of manifesto promises. Or their promises in interviews anyway. One being, no, we're not going to we're not going to remove the subsidy to pensioners in the UK for their heating payments, so they can heat their homes in winter. No, we're definitely not going to do that. One of the first things they do is remove the subsidy for heating for pensioners, while simultaneously putting up essentially people that cross the channel and by other means into the country in 4-5-star hotels, heating them giving them effectively private healthcare and giving them free food and some spending money. Yeah, it kind of grinds people's gears when money is taken from individuals that are paid into the pot and then given to individuals who have no claim to it. Strictly speaking, shouldn't have any claim to it on a moral basis. Anyway, so, like I said, we'll just take a look at their response here, and you'll see what I mean when it comes to the psychological slant. Anyway, so the government responded. What did they say? Government response was given on the 6th of December. This government was elected on a mandate of change at the July 2024 general election. Our full focus is on fixing the foundations, rebuilding Britain, and restoring public confidence in government. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen, but okay, cool. Good start, I guess. The Prime Minister can call a general election at a time of their choosing by requesting a dissolution of Parliament from the sovereign within the 5-year life of a Parliament. The government was elected by the British people on a mandate of change at the July 2024 general election. This is true, they're just informing them that it's the Prime Minister's will, basically. This government is fixing the foundations and delivering change with investment and reform to deliver growth with more jobs, more money in people's pockets. That's demonstrably not true. The UK government, in their budget, saw fit to raise national insurance contributions from employers, which then it just creates wage stagnation because the employers will not increase wages. Good times. So no, you won't actually have more money in your pocket at all, especially with some of the energy bills that we have to pay for here in the UK. You guys wonder why I'm always in a jacket. Well, now you know. And deliver growth with more jobs, more money in people's pockets to rebuild Britain and get the NHS back on its feet. Now, the NHS is the uncomfortable truth that needs to be addressed at some point. It is one of the largest employers in the entire world. It costs somewhere in the region of just under £200 billion a year. It's not more money. It's just fundamentally broken. You can't have a free healthcare with open borders. You also can't have a free healthcare just generally speaking and not expect it to become a black hole. The NHS only actually works for people that don't pay taxes because they're the only ones with the ability to sit around and wait long enough. Now, some people may know from one of my recent live streams or my Twitter, I fell down my stairs. Thought I broke my ankle. Excruciating amounts of pain. Turns out I just did soft tissue damage. But I spent essentially 12 hours in A&E, accident and emergency, thinking that I'd broken my ankle. I didn't get an x-ray straight away, no. You'd think that would be the normal thing that you do with a suspected ankle break and you can't walk, so you're, towed in on a wheelchair. But no, that took about 5 hours to go and get an x-ray. And then basically no one could assess that x-ray at all. So I just up and left after waiting for another, God knows how long, 7 odd hours or something like that. It's absurd. No one has the time to use the NHS. The only people that do have the time to use the NHS are those that don't pay taxes. That's the sad, uncomfortable truth. Because you can't get a doctor's appointment. It's completely pointless. The NHS is broken. And people would like to gaslight everyone and say, well, it would end without immigration. This is just nonsense. That's a Ponzi scheme. So you allow more people to come into the country and then create more demand to fund the NHS, to help run the NHS, even though we know the percentage of people that work there. It's just a never-ending scheme. It's oversubscribed. It's bloated. It's just a mess. It needs to be dismantled. And yeah, it just doesn't work. And it's never going to work. Throwing more money at it isn't going to fix it. That's just not going to happen. And that's doing the same thing time and time again, expecting a different result. It's insanity. But anyway, they say this will be built on the strong foundations of a stable economy. It's not happening. National security. Secure borders. We don't have borders. That's why people are able just to turn up at our shores. You absolute retard. And as we put politics back in the service of working people. You can't even define what a working person is. Keir Starmer was unable to define what a working person was. Good. excellent. This is all merely nonsense. But notice the repetition of wording. Foundations, money, growth, secure board. Like all these things are consistent. It's a psychological game that they're playing. On entering office, a £22 billion black hole was identified in the nation's finances. That's nonsense, because when they took office, they immediately continued their pledge of £11 billion in foreign aid, climate aid. So no, there actually isn't. All these people say, well, these agreements are made, they're commitments. Yeah? Cool. Remove them. Circumstances change. You can remove yourself from these commitments. You're not obligated to spend my tax on foreign climate aid. This is nonsense. We inherited unprecedented challenges. Did you? Did you not spend 14 years in opposition? So surely at that point, you would know what challenges you faced, because you were sat there as the opposition to the government that was running the country. So you should have an idea of what you were going to do. 14 years of plotting. Should have some sense of how you were going to do things. But you just enter power and you just blame everyone else. This is nonsense. This is pathetic. This is the politic of a retard. With crumbling public services and crippled public finances. Yeah, no one has any money because you keep taxing us to oblivion. It's ridiculous. You guys in the States, when you come and look at how much we earn in the UK, you will be shocked. It is awful. But we'll deliver a decade of national renewal. How are you going to get to a decade, guys? You're probably not going to get the 5 years. Through our 5 missions, economic growth. How are you going to do that? Especially with the next one, fixing the NHS. You can't fix the NHS. It is an unfixable thing. That's why every single government likes to put it on a pedestal, because they don't want to have the uncomfortable conversation that it needs to be dismantled. And it sucks, but it does need to be dismantled because it's worthless. It's a waste of money. There is a fantastic Twitter account called Days of NHS Spending, which just puts it into perspective, because when you say just under £200 billion a year, it doesn't really put it into perspective, does it? Well, let's put it this way. The Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building, is 3 days worth and 11 hours of the NHS spend. It's ridiculous. Winning the lottery will net you just 8 hours. 177 million is 8 hours of NHS spending. It's just... So what's this? The price of the Las Vegas Athletic Stadium has skyrocketed to 1.75 billion. Yeah, that's 2 days and 17 hours of the NHS spending. It is a behemoth. It needs to be dismantled. It's way too much money. It is just absurd, and no one can use it aside from people that don't pay for it. It's just ridiculous. Every year, 12 to 14,000 ships pass through the Panama Canal, representing 6% of global trade. 6% of global trade is 17 days worth of NHS money. Do you see how it needs to be dismantled now? It's way too much. So no, I don't want the NHS to be fixed. I want it gone. Safer streets. That's not going to happen when you keep importing people from different cultures. Unchecked. A zero immigration policy. Literally, you don't have an immigration policy. You cannot claim to make the streets safer when you have no immigration policy. This is absurd. Again, this is the logic of an absolute imbecile. Making Britain a clean energy superpower by completely avoiding nuclear. Well done. An opportunity for all. Oh, amazing. Cool. All that are not white British, I'm sure. The government's first budget freed up tens of billions of pounds to invest. I thought you had a 22 billion black hole. How does that make sense? What are we talking about? To invest in Britain's future while locking in stability, preventing devastating austerity in our public services. A lot of the public services need to be dismantled anyway. You've got DEI nonsense. I live in a very, very small town in the southwest, and the local council, because the council taxes us as well. Yes, that's right. Yes, we get local council tax. Decided to spend some of my money on a weird Pride event. Like, no one attended. Oh, well done. Good. Excellent. No, we need some austerity, actually, in public spending. Absolutely. Yeah, we do. Yeah, 100% we do. And protecting working people's pay slips. Well, we've already gone through that. If you increase tax basically on employers, you will create wage stagnation. That's just basic economics. You're a moron if you can't see that. Mission-led government rejects the sticking plaster solutions of the past and unites public and private sectors. National, devolved and local government. Devolution is the worst thing that happened to the UK. It's absurd. Devolution, for those that don't know, is that they basically went to, rather than centralised government, they went to local governments and basically told them that they can do what they like. But it doesn't really make any sense. They're trying to copy, I guess in some regards, emulate the US model, but it doesn't work in the UK. It's not how, it just doesn't work. Business and unions and the whole of civil society in a shared purpose. The government will continue to deliver the manifesto of change that it was elected on by basically no one. This is an absurd response. This is basically them burying their head in the sand and going la la la, not listening, la la la, not listening. But I thought I'd cover it. You can see the repetition of wording that they've consistently done and will consistently do. This is to try to encourage people to believe what they're saying. You say something enough, people will believe it. This is all complete nonsense. It doesn't stand up to scrutiny. You can't push for clean energy whilst having zero immigration policy. People coming into the country have a carbon footprint, right? You can't just be like, infinity immigrants of any sort, legal or otherwise, and just be like, yeah, but we also got to go to net zero by 2030. Really? Did you account for that? Are those books balancing on this? Because that doesn't make sense, mate. It's all just absurd. It doesn't stand up to any level of scrutiny at all. It's lowest IQ government in my lifetime. It's run. We're currently, the UK is run by an absolute clown show of mentally retarded people. Genuinely, and I mean that sincerely. These are low IQ fools. So anyway, there's the response. What did you think of it if you signed that petition and got the response? Let me know your thoughts down below. Bye now.